This presentation is an overview of the presentation provided to the Board of Education at the November 2024 board meeting. The purpose of the Boundary Committee was to look at balancing enrollment and programming across our 3 middle schools. We wanted to try to align to the District 155 boundaries as much as possible so that our families and our students could have a 6th grade through 12th grade experience. By adjusting boundaries to accommodate students, we are also looking at new developments or future developments that are in different phases of construction. Those developments are Water's Edge, Redwood Living, Derbyshire, Prairie Grove has a development going that is within our boundaries, and Pathway Court Apartments. The process that was used by the Boundary Committee involved a tool called Forecast 5 Location Analytics. It determines where current and future enrollment is within not only our district, but specifically within all 3 middle schools. By changing boundaries, we can look at current and future enrollment within those different changed boundaries. We also surveyed the community on their priorities for boundary changes. There were 2 key factors: maintaining continuity and stability for our students, including staying within the same group of peers from elementary through high school, and proximity to minimize travel time. And finally, we worked with our city on the current and expected housing developments in order to anticipate potential growth and enrollment changes. This slide shows our current middle school boundaries. This slide shows the District 155 boundaries. And then finally, we have a side-by-side so people can see the difference. Of note, for the District 155 boundaries, only the 3 high schools that come into our boundaries are on this map. We do not include Cary Grove. On the next slide, we see the population of all of our students within our middle school boundaries. The tool we used, Forecast 5 Location Analytics, places a pin on the map, allowing us to see where all of our students are regardless of age. So our preschool all the way through our current 8th grade students are identified on this map. We can then narrow it down to a single school. Once we narrow it to a school, it will then provide us demographics. So we can take a look at how many students total. You see here that there's over 2,000. That's because it's including all students pre-K to 8, but it breaks it down by grade level, as well as factors such as free and reduced lunch, race, and it allows us, because it goes all the way down to pre-K, it allows us to project enrollment for a boundary all the way out to the year 2030-31. When we redraw a boundary, it not only recolors the map, but it then pulls in students that then fall into that newly drawn boundary, which then produces a new demographic slide, allowing us to see how the demographics and or the population changes, again, projecting out class size all the way to 2030-31. So how were our scenarios built or considered? Well, the committee again looked to align as many students as possible with that 6th to 12th grade transition. The committee also considered keeping groups of students together as much as possible when that 6th to 12th grade alignment was not possible. And then we considered, as a committee, the time that students would spend on transportation to and from school. And then finally, we considered the potential enrollment impact of those housing developments that are either currently building or have been approved and will break ground shortly. So what were the recommended scenarios? Option 1 is moving most students as close to their high school as possible. Again, one of the challenges we have is that all 3 of our middle schools actually fall within the central high school boundaries. So we took a little up north near the Ridgefield and recommend moving them to Hannah Beardsley so that they could have 6th through 12th grade together. Boulder Ridge at the south end of the map was being bussed around Lundahl to Bernotis. So our recommendation is to keep them where they're Glacier Ridge, now Lundahl, and then to South High School. And then a large portion that had been going to Hannah Beardsley, south of Hannah Beardsley, moving them as a recommendation to Bernotis so that they then have that 6th through 12th grade experience with their peers at Bernotis and then Central High School. There's a chart on the slide that shows what enrollment looks like going out to 2030 so that people can see. And then underneath is the wide range of expected enrollment that could occur from the developments currently either being built or will be built. Some points of reference here is that our buildings are mostly within their capabilities with this scenario. We're aligned more to District 155. Some of the current transportation inefficiencies can be addressed with this, and we can make our programming more equitable. Option 2 that was brought forward to the board as a recommendation is very similar to option 1, with the difference of taking the neighborhoods directly around Lundahl and directly around Hannah Beardsley and having them be bused to Bernodus. This, you can also see the chart that shows what happens with our buildings here with enrollment. The main difference between this one is that it puts more students aligned to the 155 maps. A downfall of this is it does create routes and puts kids that could currently walk to a school on a bus to another middle school. We are talking with District 155 about bus routes and whether or not some joint routes could be done to address transportation and inefficiencies on this as well. Our next steps is that we will continue to provide the board any feedback that has been received on the public forum on the boundaries page on our website. We will bring these 2 scenarios back to the December board meeting for action. And then once a scenario has been approved, we will begin changing boundaries in our student information system and transportation software to begin planning for 25-26. Thank you for listening. And if you do have questions or feedback, please navigate to our boundary page and you can fill out our form and provide that feedback, and we will get that to our board as part of the next board meeting.